Hi guys, today we are going to start a new series. And this is part 1 of What If My Hero Academia, Civil War MHA AU by Danny H. 1808. Chapter 1. Divided. Returning from their summer break, the students of UA marches back and the class of 1A finally moves up to their second year. Everything was returning to their daily normal program and Uraraka in particular could not contain her excitement to finally see her friends after so long. After bidding her parents a caring farewell, she dashes to her school campus. Upon approaching the entrance of her prestigious school, she took a moment to admire the grand stature of it and relish at how grateful she is to be attending this wonderful campus. After all, if she had not passed the entrance exam, she would not have met so many great people she calls her friend. While reminiscing about the great times, just within her vision spots a certain boy with glasses. Immediately, she runs to him with her arms out wide for a hug, whether he is ready for it or not. Tackling him from the behind. Although she failed to pin him down to the ground with his stern body posture, he did acknowledge her presence with a genuine smile. "Ah, Uraraka, good morning," Ida greets with his usual strong voice. Uraraka could not contain her smile as she also greeted him, trying to match his personality. "Good morning Ida, how have you been?" "I've been doing well, and you?" "I've been great, I'm so excited to meet everyone, it's been so long," she cheerfully responds. Ida felt comfort despite moving up a grade. She retains her optimistic innocence. "Well, if that's the case, why don't we go meet them?" Ida suggests. The bubbly girl agrees and together they walk to the entrance of the school. While strolling down the campus towards their classroom, the two spot a certain boy with green hair standing still in front of their classroom. Both immediately recognize the person and immediately ran to his side. "Deku, it's so nice to see you again," Uraraka shouts excitedly following the boy with glasses. Normally, Uraraka expected him to react the way he usually does, in a way he overreacts and gets embarrassed in a friendly manner. Instead, Uraraka felt something off about him. The young man turns his head slightly to his left to see both Ida and Uraraka waiting for his response. "Ah, Uraraka, Ida, good morning." The way he spoke felt unnatural to the two. His eyes when he looked at her were dull and the smile he showed was not the one she remembers before. Before, he was the light of the classroom who held the most potential because of his kind, caring persona, but this one felt different. It was distant, cold and nerve-wracking. Even the way he spoke was monotone. "Midoriya. Are you okay?" Ida flat out asks, showing his concern for his friend. Needing to say what clouded her mind, Ida always displays his concern for others so she doesn't have to. Midoriya was late to answer but he creaks a small, senile smile that Uraraka has never seen before. The smile he showed was one that felt forced and not particularly genuine, and she knew straight away that something was wrong. "I never felt better." "Ida, ring." The tension between the three broke with the sound of the bell. "Let's take our seats." "Hey, imagine if we were late despite standing in front of our homeroom." He jokes about it. Even if it was meant to be funny, the two did not laugh but silently watched the young freckled boy walk in. "Ida. You think he is okay?" Uraraka asks, frozen in her spot. Feeling unsure of himself, he can only say with uncertainty, "I do not know." Uraraka enters the classroom feeling somewhat down. Mainly it was because of her concern for her friend. She thought of various ways to cheer him up and bring back the light he used to be. Keeping that positive mindset in place, she forcefully puts up the wall of her upbeat attitude. After taking quick glances around the class, she reassures herself that at least the majority of her friends remained the same. The second she settled her seat, she could hear the loudest voice amongst the conversation, coming from a man with a fiery explosive personality. Usually, she finds it annoying, but after the whole ordeal with Midoriya, she finds comfort in the usual chaos. Along with Bakugo unchanged, Mina Ishido also remains the same in being the hype man and Kirishima also being the protector and second man to Bakugo, while Zero takes the backseat audience as usual. Glancing at the others as well, Mineta is still perverted and horny as usual while Jiro and Shoji monitor his actions. Ojiro, Sato and Tokiyami engage in their own conversation while Aoyama and Kota remain to themselves in isolation. Everything looked pretty normal for the most part, but the one thing bugs her the most is Midoriya, who is unnaturally keeping to himself. Being lost in her thoughts, the noise of a chair pulling up next to her snapped her back to reality. Uraraka jolts her head to the side to find Tsuyu Asui taking her seat. "Good morning Sue, it's been so long," she cheers, retaining her merry attitude. Sue pans her head with a slight glare in her eyes. "Uraraka," she groans under her voice, almost seemingly like she is pissed off at the sight of her. The bowl-cut girl was taken aback to her sudden change in her attitude. Scared to ask, she cuts the conversation short and leaves her alone. Probably the best idea as the frog girl returns back to keeping it herself. It's good to see you again, Ochako, the green-hair girl says, breaking the silence. Her eyes open wide in shock. Sorry, it's been a long day. I'm really nervous today, but seeing you somehow made me feel a lot more relaxed. Ribbit, she croaks accidentally, displaying a genuine smile. Uraraka smiles happily as her fear of Sue changing was just that, fear. For a second, she had this same scary aura as Midoriya. Seeing her best friend smile, she smiles in reassurance that she has not changed. I'm glad, Sue. The second bell rang and the class took their respective seats as soon as the homeroom teacher walked in. The scruffy old man in black attire casually walks in while setting his sleeping bag to the side. Good morning, class. As you know, I will be your homeroom teacher again. My name is Shota Aizawa, but you will refer to me as Aizawa-sensei. Sigh. But you already knew that. Good to know that even her teacher still acts the same. After the brief introduction, he continues on to take attendance. The students showed their personality through their name being called when Kirishima and Mina shouted their presence excitedly while people like Bakugo scoffed in annoyance. But when it came to Midoriya, he remained silent and only raised his hand after having the teacher repeatedly call for his name. Again, Uraraka felt even more concerned for him as he never does things like this. Is he having a bad day? I'm worried about him. I wish he would talk to me about it. Deku. After the attendance was finished, he announced the only one who was absent was Toru Hagakure. The absence shocked the entire class. Even despite her invisible appearance, she was one of the many energetic and bright personalities of the class, having the positive personality that rivals even Bakugo's explosive one. The entire class looks around to find a floating uniform anywhere, and even Uraraka joins in. Amongst the search, she could not help but look towards a certain boy's way to see how he was doing. Midoriya did not look around as she would have wanted, but instead, he stared off out the window with a slight smirk on his face. What's wrong with him? Uraraka could not help but worry what the hell was going on about him. Enough, hurry up and settle down so I can hand out today's syllabus, the teacher demands, immediately silencing the room. One by one, each student went up to grab the syllabus from the teacher. Everyone went up according to the seating arrangement, and when it was Midoriya's turn, he stood up and walked towards him. Uraraka noticed that he could have gone straight to the teacher, but instead she took a slight detour where he walked past Yaoyorozu. The teacher probably did not notice because he was too busy reading the names off, but Uraraka was almost positive Yaoyorozu handed him something under the desk. But what is it? Midoriya approached the teacher with no fuss and grabbed the paper from him. He did not immediately go back to his seat, but instead, after flipping through the syllabus, he looked up to Aizawa with glareful eyes. Are you okay, Midoriya? Aizawa asks, genuinely concerned for his students. The young boy could only snicker at the thought. It was a small chuckle, then gradually grew louder and more maniacal. Aizawa and even some of the students were taken aback by his sudden change, unable to grasp what the hell was going on. 1. Aizawa. Midoriya. What? 2. Midoriya. Shush, don't say anything yet. I need to retain my composure. 1. Your composure? What are you talking about? 2. This is my first time doing this, so I'm kinda nervous, sensei. Please bear with me for a bit, okay? His demeanor and manner was getting to the point where the class began to worry. Hey, Midoriya, what the hell are you saying, Deku? Sit the fuck down at your seat already. Kirishima was gonna speak out until Bakugo recklessly yelled out of spite, possibly worsening the situation. Ah, shut up, Kachan. He pans back to him and the whole class. His eyes glared back at him, showing a great sense of hostility that even the other classmates felt. Something's wrong. Deku never talked back to Bakugo like that before. While the others watched a bit confused, Uraraka notices some students like Yaoyorozu and even Sue, who sits directly next to her, show no signs of being affected. In fact, they did not seem fazed at all. Almost as if they are waiting patiently for what's about to happen. Uraraka then pieced together what happened before when Yaoyorozu suspiciously handed Deku something in his hand. It only confirms her suspicions when she looks directly to his hand, enclosed and hiding something. Now then, the young boy looks back. Where were we? Uraraka does not fully understand the situation yet, but all she knows deep down in her gut is that something bad is about to happen. Aizawa-sensei, be careful, she shouts on instinct, trying to protect him. Before she could say more, Sue suddenly jumped from her desk and tackled the round-faced girl, pinning her down to the floor. Upon impact, Uraraka screams in pain but is immediately silenced when a tongue wraps around her mouth, rendering her quiet. Sue, what are you doing? She tries to speak but is unable to, and she could not activate her quirk either as both her hands are being tied down to the floor. As of now, Uraraka is restrained by someone that she once called her friend. Asui, what are you doing? Mina calls out to the frog girl, her voice a bit wavered as she asks in a joking manner, praying that was the case, but she does not respond. Sue only glares at Uraraka with the same eyes she saw with Midoriya. It was then she knew. She also changed. I'm sorry, Ochako. Thanks for your help, Asui, Midoriya compliments, giving her a genuine smile of appreciation. Aizawa wanted to quickly act and stop this, but it was quickly stopped when Midoriya pushed his teacher back. I'm not done with you, sensei, he chimes in, angering the teacher. Out of my way, Midoriya, he demanded, but he did not listen. Instead, he brings his fist up for him to see, only if you see this first. Uraraka remembers that hand and tries her damnedest to warn him, but it was futile. Aizawa looked for a brief moment and realized it was a flashbang. It looked like a very strong one, and within the distance they were at, he could run the risk of being blind and that could affect his quirk. He deduced that maybe that was his plan all along and acted quickly to close his eyes. He may lose his other sense of hearing, but he needs his eyes to fight. Unfortunately, luck was not on his side. Even though he knew to close his eyes remained open, almost forcefully. He senses no presence of anyone behind him, so he did not understand why he could not close his eyes. Actually, he could not move at all, like he was trapped or someone was holding him down. He then remembers one minor detail. Nice work, he commends as he pulls the pin. Aizawa, in distraught, could not react fast enough, and because of that one mistake, Deku smirks devilishly as his plans are going according to plan. Aizawa glares menacingly at the young broccoli. You're not Midoriya. Who the hell are you? How rude, my name is Izuku Midoriya, or did you forget? He claps back with a sarcastic tone. Aizawa tries his hardest but is unable to break free. Now sensei, say cheese, he remarks as he pulls the pin. Aizawa looks directly at him, having to see the young man he respected so much before a bright light shines his eyes and rendering him blind. The whole class reacted quickly enough to avert their eyes. Upon regaining their conscience, Bakugo stares shockingly as he witnesses Deku blinding their teacher. He's bleeding. Adding salt to the wound, a splurge of blood seeps through his shirt. Aizawa-sensei, Bakugo shouts in a panic. The old man drops to the floor in defeat with a flying object floating just behind him. It was a bloody knife waving around in the air with no one there. Almost as if the wielder is invisible. Hagakure, is that you? Jiro asks. Ding ding ding, you got that right. She responds back with a sadistic tone. Jiro could not believe what she was hearing, or more like what she was seeing. Asui, Midoriya and even Hagakure are on the offense and they could not believe it. Wow, that was a lot easier than I thought. Midoriya talks to himself, and to think. We were so worried about messing things up. I looked pretty cool just now. He turned back around to the class. Hagakure chimes in and agrees, boosting his ego and congratulating for this disturbing achievement. The students stand in horror, only Bakugo having the strength to move. He was late to save his teacher, but he then looks to the next person in need of saving. Bakugo locks eyes with Uraraka, who is in tears, practically begging for his help. Without a second thought, he aims his hands behind him to launch a massive explosion, launching him towards the two girls. Get ya disgusting tongue off her, frog face. He screams. He attacks Asui with an explosion, but she effortlessly dodges it, releasing her hold on Uraraka. She lands gracefully by Midoriya's side. Ribbit, that's pretty mean, Bakugo. I was just doing as I was told, she talks back. You did an amazing job, Asui. Midoriya pats her shoulder, awarding for her action. Uraraka coughs as she breathes heavily. Ida was quick to rush to her side for comfort. This is going too far. It's not funny anymore, Midoriya. You are acting too violently. In fact, right now, you are acting too much like a villain. He finishes with a smirk on his face. I wouldn't go that far, but I needed to make a statement, he claims proudly. Cough cough W. What do you mean, Deku? Uraraka, able to breathe normally, begs for an answer. You'll know eventually, because of right now, I can't give you one. The more he listened, the more pissed off Bakugo got as he can practically see the senile smirk behind his face. Enough of your bullshit, Deku. As he prepares to launch at him once, he gets held back by someone holding him from behind. Kirishima suddenly speaks up when he sees who is holding him down. Kaminari, what are you? Too late. Sorry Bakubro, but we need you to settle down a bit. Without warning, a sudden shock of electricity bolts through his body. It wasn't his usual powerful wild one, but more on the line of it being more concentrated with the same amount of charge. Bakugo tried his hardest to withstand it, but he noticed the drastic strength in Kaminari's power that even he could not handle. In the end, Bakugo drops to the floor, paralyzed and rendered useless. Mineta. No way. Bakugo got beaten. Mina. You gotta be some sick joke. Even you, Kaminari. Jiro watches from the sideline, her heart pained as he watches Kaminari smile proudly in defeating one of UA's powerhouses. Denki. Walking to his side, Kaminari and even Yaoyorozu, whom Uraraka suspected a while ago, walks to Midoriya's side. I appreciate the timing, Yaoyorozu. I am impressed with how the plan went so smoothly, Asui chimes in. Hey, is no one gonna praise me for taking down Bakugo? I was hella nervous, ya know. Kaminari speaks, desperately seeking recognition. He then felt a slight pressure on his left shoulder. I thought it was very brave of you, Kaminari. Hagakure took the initiative, reassuring the yellow Pikachu while recklessly twirling the bloody knife she still holds onto. And thanks for making the knife last minute, Yaoyomomo. You are a lifesaver. It wasn't much, thankfully I had enough time to make the dang things, Yaoyorozu added, blushing a bit in embarrassment. The group continues engaging in a regular conversation, oblivious to the situation going on. Ida grits his teeth in anger. You harmed our sensei, even going as far as potentially blinding him forever. You attacked Bakugo and paralyzed him. You guys did all this and still have the audacity to stand there together and talk in a casual conversation. He screams, venting out all his frustration. Midoriya and the others cut the conversation short. At first, they were conversing with each other nonchalantly, then turned serious on their expression within seconds. Ida, Uraraka mutters weakly. Not only his but the entire class too. Why are you doing this? Answer me, Izuku. Midoriya. Kaminari. Go on, he asked you specifically. Midoriya noted and sighs annoyingly. Deku walks up to him and Uraraka. Like I said, we are going to make a statement, but I can't really say right now what said statement is gonna be. You'll know when the time comes, so wait patiently, okay? The smile he showed was different, at least to Uraraka. It was not like the ones before where he struck fear into the class, but this one was genuine and nostalgic. It was at that moment that she knew Deku wasn't lost, he wasn't gone. Midoriya is there, but he is acting so differently that it is nearly impossible to tell the difference. Leaving on that, Deku stood up and walked away with the others head into the exit. Like I'm letting you leave. Ida announces, getting ready to full-on speed blitz. Backing him up is Kirishima, Tokiyami, Soji and Shiro, who are ready to go while the others are still frozen in fear, trying to process what is happening. Just when Ida is on the attack, a large frozen wall appears in front of him, splitting the classroom between the traitors and the rest. The speed he built up backfired as he fully smashed the ice wall, knocking him down. Uraraka then looks far to her left to see a certain man standing alone. Ya half-in-half bastard. Bakugo screaming furiously alarmed the entire class that there was one more among the group. Uraraka squeals under her voice as tears begin to flow down. Todoroki, not you too. I'm sorry, but you can't stop us anymore, he claims. He then looks towards Deku, making eye contact with him. You can't stop him. The giant ice wall he put up perfectly separates Midoriya's group from the class, allowing them to leave without any further trouble. Once the group enters the hallway, Deku announces their plan into action, but not without interference, as a loud smash through the wall interrupts the group. They stare off as Kirishima emerges from the dust in his hardening form. You're not going anywhere, Midoriya. All of you are staying right here. He demands. Kaminari. Who says? Todoroki. I told you we should have frozen him. Yaoyorozu. And I told you, it won't change anything. It didn't even buy us time at all. Asui. Quite the persistent annoyance, Midoriya. The frog girl then directs her attention to Midoriya, seeking guidance. Deku glares at him with a plan in mind. Nothing has changed. We proceed as we practiced. The rest of the class walks through the hole Kirishima made with Ida carrying Bakugo by the shoulder. Deku, what are you doing? This is not you. All Might wouldn't want this. He speaks in a normal tone voice, barely keeping his conscience afloat. Kachan, he mutters to himself. What I do would sully his name and what All Might represents. But it is necessary for the world I am trying to build, he claims, finally enlightening him on a portion of his plan. And sadly, you aren't part of it. Bakugo grits his teeth but then notices two more silhouettes behind the group. Ah, you're here, Midoriya announces. 1A watches as two students from Class B approach them. Thanks for the sleeping gas, Yaoyorozu. It helped put my class to sleep fairly quick, Yui Kodai says. Yay, your quirk is amazing and hella versatile. Sen Kaibara adds in. Two more students from Class B join Midoriya's group, already expanding its potential threat. So, Kaibara adds in, you asked to put our class to sleep peacefully, but what's with this chaotic tragedy? Yay, your class is in total disarray, Kodai comments. Midoriya displays a serious face, it's necessary. Now, they know what we can do and what we're gonna do in the future. Time for us to cut ties. Midoriya calls out to Yaoyorozu, sorry for always relying on you, but can you make me one more thing? He whispers to her ear. She listened and was more than happy to do it, but it required some time. One in which they did not have enough of. Kirishima, Shoji screams, we have to act now. Stop them. Right. Kirishima heard and quickly activated his quirk to attack. Unbreakable, he calls out, pushing his durability to its fullest to stop his fellow students. Not so fast. Kaibara intercepts him and he catches both his hands with his makeshift hands. Their strength was on par from the beginning, but Kirishima slowly gained the upper hand. Not bad, Kaibara compliments, but that was before he activated his quirk. Slowly, his hands began to change into a drill, adding more force to his strength. This sudden surprise allows to push him back. In a brief moment of distraught, Kaibara took the opportunity to run at him and convert his lower torso into a drill, pushing him back a couple ways. You can't touch him, sorry. Tokiyami then attempts to step up and support but is quickly shut down by Todoroki and his flames, rendering him useless. One by one, each student tried their hardest to stop them but failed short every time. Ashido tries to shoot acid, Mineta with his balls and Zero with his tape but was blocked by Todoroki's ice wall. The close combat fighters like Sato and Ojiro tried their hardest but were pushed back by Kaminari and Kaibara. Ida and Shoji tried to join in but all efforts were futile when Midoriya joined the fray. One for all, full cowling, he called out and in seconds, caught up with Ida and pushed him back a couple feet away. It was a one-sided fight that gave Midoriya's group the upper hand in every situation. Kaminari. This is a bit too easy. Asui. Don't let up, Kaminari. Midoriya. Status update, Yaoyorozu. Yaoyorozu. Almost finished. It seemed hopeless for 1A, but that was until Bakugo started to feel his nerves again. On the second he could move, he blasted off the ground and went straight towards the group. Deku. He yells out. Midoriya shows a slight smirk on his face, come. He knew the second he lifted off the ground that his initial target was not him but Yaoyorozu. He thought that by taking her out first, the group would be easily handled and have nowhere to escape. As predictable as he had hoped, Deku intercepts just in time to clash fist with Bakugo. 1. Deku. Now you're ignoring me. That hurts a bit, Kachan. 2. Bakugo. Shut up and get out of my way, you damn traitor. 1. Ha 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 ha. Nah. Deku then grabs his arm and lifts him up and slams his entire body to the floor, sending him flying up. Upon impact, it triggers the initial damage he received from Kaminari and that gives the opportunity for Deku to strike. I might have to go a little harder on you than the rest, Kachan, he comments as he winds up a punch. Detroit Smash. He punches him straight in the gut and sends him flying. Take care of him for me, Asui, sending the flying blonde boy her way. Asui complies and extends her tongue, wrapping it around his body and using the initial speed already there, she spins him around and gradually picks up more speed. Reaching the right momentum, she releases him and sends him flying out the window. Deku watches as he is seen shattering the window glass and thrown right out to the courtyard. And with that, he is no longer our problem. Class 1A is at their complete mercy despite having the numbers. Most are broken spiritually and some are broken mentally. Jiro, Mineta and Ashido, though through their attempt, see the result and how weak and helpless they truly are against them. Kaminari. Jiro calls, tears flowing through her eyes. Please. He looks towards her way and shows a saddened expression. He walks up to her and kneels down to her level. He reaches his hand out to her and out of fear closes her eyes. Instead, he brushes his hand along her hair. Jiro's heart speeds up with a slight blush as she stares back at him. I'm sorry. And in one fell swoop, activates his quirk to minorly shock her nerves and knock her out. Forgive me. Is it done? He asks unfortunately. Yaoyorozu confirms as he displays 2 hand grenades. Good. Hand it to Kodai, Deku orders. Kodai grabs them. Can you change its size slightly bigger? Like, maybe the size of a bowling ball? He asks. No problem. The young lady complies and activates her quirk and enlarges the 2 grenades. Here ya go, handing it to the green-haired boy. What are you going to do with those? Ojiro demands. Simple, he replies, pulling the pins and throwing them to the side where the windows are. It's a little overdramatic and unnecessary, but I feel like this is appropriate, ya know. The grenade ticks to exploding. Like hell, I'll let you. Kirishima then charges again at the group. Before he could even touch Midoriya, the explosion went off. Deku and the group were shielded by Yaoyorozu's quick act to make a large shield and to withstand their ground thanks to Todoroki's ice support. Kirishima on the other hand, takes the full force explosion within inches of it and is blown back to the classroom, causing absolute destruction, knocking him unconscious. With this, the teachers will surely notice, Todoroki mentions. Kaibara. Ya know I could have just drilled our way out right. Kodai. Shut it, Kaibara. Kaminari. True, but we listen to him. Yaoyorozu. We should leave now. Hagakure got our hero suits already. Asui. Were you able to say everything? Deku looks to the group then back to Uraraka especially. Her face is messed up in tears and bruises. His smile that he put up for a while then lowers to a blank poker face. Yay, I'm done. Let's go, he announces. The big explosion that was caused left a gigantic hole leading outside. Todoroki built a giant slide with his ice that leads to the ground and one by one, they jump off to the slide. Deku, Uraraka calls out. He heard, causing him to stop short. Don't leave us, Deku, don't leave me. Her hand reaches out to him. Midoriya watches as her hand desperately reaches out to him. For a brief moment, he shows slight hesitation and fights the urge to grab it. His face is distraught and he doesn't know why. Help her, Midoriya, Todoroki calls out, snapping him back to reality. We should go. The pro heroes are arriving soon. Midoriya then reverts back to his cold demeanor. Right. Sorry. He takes one last look before riding down the slide. Goodbye, Uraraka. It was fun, and just like that, he leaps off the building followed by Todoroki. Amongst the chaos, people got hurt and destruction was massively impactful. They did not know what Izuku Midoriya meant when he said he wanted to make a statement, but he did leave an enormous impact. Some were left broken, some were left crying, and some were left defeated and knocked unconsciously. It was a major loss for UA and they never saw it coming. Uraraka in particular got hit the hardest, as just when school was about to start again, she could not contain her joy in seeing her friends. That one sense of happiness was quickly taken away in just mere seconds. Just like that, the class was divided. I've always thought of writing a Civil War storyline with My Hero Academia, but I did not know how to do it, until now. I've read various Civil War stories here on Wattpad, but none of them seems to be something I connected with, mostly were just light work like a game or something. I wanted to make a story where I don't have to pull any punches, to be able to have risks put on the line, and I think this might be the one. Who knows? Nonetheless, I hope this is a great start for you guys to read and thoroughly enjoy reading it as much as I wrote it. I promise it only gets better from here. Closing parenthesis. Chapter 2. LOV's new leadership. After the chaotic mess Midoriya and his group caused, Class 1A were put in safety lockdown at their dorm. The entire class was at a loss. Kirishima, Bakugo and Aizawa were rushed to the hospital due to severe damage and the rest waited silently in their rooms. Bakugo took the least damage next to Kirishima, but the one who suffered the most was Aizawa. Sustaining lasting injuries, it will take him a long while for him to fully recover. Fully recovering is the understatement of the century, as everything can heal pretty fast due to Recovery Girl's quirk, but the loss of his sight is the main issue. Because of how affected it was by Yaoyorozu flashbang going off pretty close to him, it might take more than her quirk to fully heal his eyes. If it can be treated at all. Class B sustained no serious damage due to both them and the homeroom teacher Vlad were asleep during the whole thing. Leaving Class A, who got affected the most. Uraraka in particular hides herself away in her room. Holding onto her pillow, her tears have never stopped flowing since the incident, and every time she pictures him in her mind, all she feels from it is pain and sadness. Knock knock. Hello, Uraraka, can we talk? Ida's voice can be heard through the door, trying to reach the isolated brunette. Right now, the girl is not in the right state of mind to talk with anyone. I'm sorry, but can you leave me alone? I don't want to talk right now, She pleads, trying her best not to get emotions to work up. I understand how you're feeling right now. What Midoriya did to us, to you. We all still are being affected, but right now, All Might is asking for you. Uraraka jolts up from her bed, wiping the tears away from her face. All Might is here, she thought to herself. Midoriya always looked up to him, so maybe he has some answers for his sudden change. Having the opportunity to talk to him was reason enough to open her door to Ida and have him guide down to the break room. Upon arriving, Tokiyami, Ashido, Ojiro Shoji, Shiro and even Kirishima sat quietly in the living room. She can tell all of them were still hurting as they showed various serious faces, and she did not know how to break the silence. Where are the others? She asks curiously. After what happened with Kaminari. Jiro refuses to leave her room. What happened between them hurt her real bad, Ashido explains. Aoyama, Kota and Mineta also did not want to leave their room with no explanation at all, Shoji adds. Uraraka's expression was dull as she was on the verge of crying again. I hate this. So we're all that's left. Thank you all for coming, a voice comes from the kitchen. The kids turned towards the source of the voice and stood two figures. All Might, Ida calls out to Dot and the chief of police. Good morning kids, I'm sorry to call you guys out this early, but I need to ask all you here various questions regarding the renegade group of Class A. Woof, the police asked many questions regarding the missing students of Class A and a few in Class B. They asked about the sudden changes in their behavior and the reasoning for causing all of this mess. Time and time again, All Might and the chief would ask questions, and time again, the students would answer the same. What did they expect? It was just after summer vacation and the start of a new year. Uraraka among others never anticipated something like this, and when it did, it caused a divide. With the sudden change with the kids they once called their friends, there was no right answer. The atmosphere in the room went from serious to depressing as it continued, and Ashido couldn't hold it in any longer as she started to cry uncontrollably. Kirishima took the initiative to calm her down and escort to her room as she could no longer control herself. They were getting nowhere, no evidence, no second-hand witnesses, no reason, no cause, no just. Everything just happened so fast. That's enough for today, the chief announces. He readies his belongings as he prepares to leave. Kirishima stops him short. What about our friends? What will be happening to them? The chief had a disappointed expression on his face. With the amount of destruction and people harmed caused by the group, we will have no choice but to acknowledge them as villains and will be dealt with appropriately, he coldly claims. The kids' nerves struck cold as they could not believe what they were hearing. Dealt like villains. Class A spirits were completely broken as they did not know how to deal with it. On the other hand, All Might grow cold. What have I done? Young Midoriya, do you have any idea what you have done? With One for All, he grows conscious of the potential danger of the quirk he passed down to him. He never once thought of a scenario where Midoriya would ever go rogue, and now that it comes to this, the world grew up to be a scarier place to live in now that One for All is in the hands of a potential villain. Deku said something, Uraraka mentions, grabbing All Might's and the class's attention. They mentioned Deku was going to do something that was gonna change the world. But I don't know what it is. This put the entire room on high alert. Especially to All Might, who knows the potential of what Midoriya can do with the power of One for All. The news of the event spread like wildfire. The names of the students who participated in the games a year ago are now being portrayed as wanted rogues villains. While the public grew wary of said group, the sun soon began to set and the dark rose when shady figures began to take action. Asui, where are we heading to? Midoriya? Midoriya. Patience, Asui. We're almost there. Kaminari. This getup is so cheesy emo. Kodai. Deal with it. We are wanted criminals now. Kaibara. Wanted huh? Sounds exciting. Hagakuri. I love the clothes you made for us, Yaoyorozu. It's so warm, mega cute and comfy. Yaoyorozu. It's my pleasure. We needed to change to hide our identities anyways. Todoroki. Not like you need it. You're practically invisible for the most part. We're here, Midoriya announces. The group stops short behind them, and the place they were standing in front of appears to be a rundown bar. Is this place really it? Kaminari questions. Midoriya looks back with a slight smirk on his face. Absolutely. 30 minutes prior. In an abandoned bar similar to the one they had before, the League of Villain resides at the moment. Gah! A man grunts in frustration as he throws a glass of alcohol at the TV. Those damn pests, how dare they do that? Shigaraki sneers at the TV. Master Shigaraki, please calm down, Kurogiri reassures the man, followed by Toga and Dabi also helping. Those damn kids, all of a sudden they turn sides. I don't buy that crap. That was pretty intense, huh? Such light work, I could have done better. Good job ya darn kids, makes Papa proud. Twice chimes in his own opinion. But look at the damages they caused within one day. The school is in total disorientation, and it's because of that kid you hate so much. That Izuku Midoriya, Spinner comments, further fueling his anger. Suddenly, the tension broke when the sound of the front door banging loudly, echoing the room. The League of Villains were silenced quickly while taking quick glances with each other. Last time something like this happened, a large man with bunny ears for hair came smashing in, and that caused real trauma for the lizard, but this one seemed a bit more toned down. You gonna answer? Dabi questions, directing his concern to Shigaraki. The old man hesitates for a moment, not fully understanding what he is dealing with. Don't worry, Shigaraki, whoever that is, I'll slice and dice her up real good. Toga cheers excitedly. If there were any time to display some form of leadership, now is the appropriate time. Mustering up the strength, he powers through and approaches the door. Shigaraki doesn't know why, but the anonymous vibe he is getting through this door puts fear into his nerves. For the first time in a long time, he actually does not know what's gonna happen, and that scares him. He aggressively opened the door, and there stood a group of people in hooded silhouettes. The darkness made it hard for him to make out who the hell this group was. Where did these people come from? He asks himself. May we come in? It's kinda raining outside, a voice emerges from the dark. On the rare chance of feeling intimidated by just hearing a man's voice, he hesitates to say a word. Who the hell's at the door? Dabi annoyingly groans. Without a word, the group self-invites themselves, with the first man to walk in, pushes Shigaraki aside. Shigaraki stood stunned but was quickly able to bounce back and retake control of the situation. Who the hell are you guys, huh? Just walking up like that? Do you have any idea who we are? Oh, I know who you guys are, and I don't feel the least bit fazed. You guys are just some wannabe dysfunctional group. Who am I to be scared of mere kids? Damn pest, let me slice him up, Shigaraki, Toga suggested, taking that harsh comment a little too personal. Shigaraki then stops her as his peak of interest rises. Who are you? He demands. Just then, the mysterious group removes their hoodies one by one. Starting from the back, they make their way to the front to reveal a scruffy green hair leading the pack. His green eyes darken to a more shaded black. Kaminari. Ah, finally. We can dry off. Asui. I never minded being wet. Todoroki. It's because you're a frog. Kaibara. Way to always state the obvious, man. That's Izuku Midoriya, Mr. Compress states. The League looks at them in complete shock. First of all, how the hell did they find their secret spot just after hearing about the news at UA? And second, why would they come here? What is the reason? What brings you here? To join? Shigaraki asks, with a slight suggestion of them joining their ranks since they clearly defected from being heroes. Forget the idea of joining. The old man with a mask for face couldn't understand how a bunch of kids could suddenly stroll up to their hidden hideout like it's nobody's business. How did they find this place? Midoriya only scoffs at that idea. Are you kidding me? Join you? Don't insult me, Mr. Shigaraki, taking off his hoodie and placing it on the floor, followed behind the others. We're here to take over. What? Shigaraki groans in anger. You dare come into my establishment and spout that sort of nonsense in front of me? Midoriya wipes the dust off his shoulders, seemingly not paying attention to his rant. It's not really nonsense if it's going to happen, right? His green eyes lighten with little bolts of red crossing its pupil. This bastard. Listen here, you. Shigaraki recklessly steps closer, putting his hand out to his shoulders. You know me and you know what I can do, right? I put all my 5 fingers here and you're dead, he threatens. Hoping to recall their times together from the moment at the mall, he hopes to strike fear into that kid like before, but it didn't work. Midoriya looked unfazed and not the least bit scared, let alone tremble like he did before. Those dead fish eyes mixed with black and green said enough. He's different. His words would intimidate anyone under these circumstances, but not to him. Instead, he plays along and grabs his hand, forcing it off his shoulders. I do know you, but you don't know us. Remember, we part ways with that hero's life, and that also means we don't abide by the rules of restrictions anymore, or did you forget? And just a moment later, multiple loud gunshot echoes in the room and Shigaraki is seen drop to the floor. Master Shigaraki, Kurogiri shouts in a panic. The man with many faces lies on the floor with both his legs bleeding out with bullet holes. Thanks for that, Yaoyorozu. He looks back to compliment the black-haired girl. You're welcome. Thanks to the given prep time, I managed to make a fine MP9 automatic pistol. Asui walks up to Midoriya and places her hand on his shoulder for comfort. Are you okay, Midoriya? Midoriya then places his hand on top of hers with a genuine smile. I'm okay now, Asui. Thank you. 1. Asui. Su. 2. Midoriya. Quote. 1. Call me Su. I want you to call me Su. 2. You sure? Asui lowers her head in embarrassment as she clings onto his shoulder a bit harder. Midoriya could also feel him heating up as he felt nervous with the tension between the two. Oh okay, thank you, Su. She heard and she could not help but crack a light smile as she nodded her head. *ribbit you're welcome, Izuku. After she gradually lets her hand down from his shoulders, the green-haired boy reverts back to his cold manner and approaches the crippled villain. Now then, where were we? Shigaraki was put into a dangerous position. He was at the mercy of Midoriya and he can't do anything as of now. The boy kneels to his level to make sure he doesn't get up. Remember the time Snipe shot you in the body and legs? Does this bring back sweet memories? He says sarcastically, reveling in his pain. You may be dangerous but unless you possess a high-level durability quirk somewhere in your body. If you're not at least invulnerable of sorts, you can still be harmed by conventional means. After all. You are only human. Damn. You, Shigaraki curses under his mouth. Seeing how bad the situation escalated, the League decides to take action. First to make a move was Dabi as he lightens himself with blue flames and shoots it directly towards Deku with the intention of having Shigaraki as collateral damage. Suddenly, his blue flames were stopped when another burst of crimson-red fire intercepted it, showing equal strength. Who the hell? In the corner of his eye, spots a similar young boy. His stature and appearance jogged a memory of his past life he long tried to contain. Quote. Shoto. Unable to react, another wave of ice followed by the fire tackles Dabi and pinning him to the wall. Damn you. Before he finished, Asui followed it up with jumping towards him, building speed and in one hop, she glided across the room and landed both her feet on his face. The kick was so strong that it broke the wall behind him, causing him to crash upon the debris and knocking him out. *ribbit that's one down. Not so fast Su, an unfamiliar feminine voice calls her from behind. In the last moment, Asui was able to dodge and avoid the knife with just the bare scratch. Don't call me that, only my close friends can refer to me as Su, she claps back, maintaining her distance. The psychotic girl giggles as she closes the distance. Come on, Su. We're just having fun, right? Asui uses her frog-like features to effortlessly dodge all her attacks, but she does acknowledge that Toga is getting dangerously accurate after every miss. Just when she was enjoying herself, Toga was about to pierce Asui's face with a knife, supposedly intending to kill her. But she then dodges and a flying knife pops out of nowhere in her place. Toga then reacts quickly enough to avoid a fatal injury but is not so lucky as to come out of it unscathed. A cut appears on her left cheek. Ho ho, you got a cut on me. She licks her own blood. Not bad, Su. Come on, let's keep the party going. No, she claims, we're redone here. Asui's cold, blatant response offended the creepy girl. Well, see about that. When she was about to wind up her knife, her body ceases to function and she drops to the floor. What is happening to me? I can't move, she panics. Asui then walks near her and kneels down to reveal what brought her down. I'll let you in on something, Toga. I have special types of secreting mucus that can paralyze anybody I can inject it to. But, how did you get me? Asking with a slight concern. Just then, her questions were answered when a floating knife appeared behind Asui. That's when she realized she must have coated that knife with her secretes mucus, and that must explain how it only got to her when she got cut. But how is the knife floating in the air like that? Did they have someone with a quirk to levitate objects? Asui. Thanks for the backup, Toru. Hagakure. Course Su, I got ya back, girl. That's when she realized the knife isn't floating but someone is invisible and has been supporting Asui from the sideline. It was a 2v1 situation from the moment Toga took the first swing. That's unfair, Toga cries out, whining about how badly she lost. Asui then stands up. It's not supposed to be fair. We're not heroes anymore, remembered? No restrictions, and like that, she turns her body to the side and puts her power to her legs, stomping her face through the floor and knocking her out. She's still alive, right? Hagakure comments out of concern. Asui then lifts her feet off the wooden floor and observes closely to the body. Her chest is still moving, so at most, tells her she is breathing. I hope so. I don't think I snapped her neck. She's a tough one after all, so just let her sleep. Hagakure, you knew the floor was wooden, right? Asui, ribbit. No, thank God it is. The other League of Villains were dealt accordingly, with one by one getting taken out and restrained by the overwhelming power of Todoroki's ice and fire and Kaibara's powerful drill quirk, while Kaminari manages to subdue Kurogiri with his electro quirk. Shigaraki watches helplessly as his comrades, who he's been with for months, working hard together to defeat the heroes and kill All Might, are effortlessly taken out by mere children. Impossible, this is impossible. You see, Midoriya grabs his head, you couldn't even beat us kids, so how the hell do you think you can take on the heroes? Let alone kill someone like All Might. Deku applies pressure to his skull, displaying his terrifying strength. He screams in agonizing pain as the pressure was so intense that Shigaraki was sure he was gonna die by accidentally crushing his skull. Honestly, putting it into perspective, the amount of you guys underestimating us is quite insulting. Shigaraki begins to panic after realizing how deep trouble he was in. No matter how many ideas he tries to come up with, after the great strength this boy demonstrated in his teamwork and coordination, his sense of confidence was struck down and he began to start second-guessing himself. This is bullshit. Me, at the mercy of a 16-year-old. Quit fucking with me. I still have a goal to reach. I still have to kill All Might. Let me go. Surprised to see he still has some fight left in him, Midoriya holds him momentarily. Please. Let me go so I can kill All Might. I need to kill him, he cries out. Midoriya for a second sought his potential. But it was all the same for these villains. With people like Shigaraki, the goals are too small and insignificant to make proper change in the world. What the hell would the death of All Might have any effect on? Opening his eyes to a wider view, your vision is too small, Shigaraki. And because of that, people like you are not needed in this world. No, Midoriya makes eye contact with Yaoyorozu and without a word, hands him the gun she made. Now I've never done this before, so I'm a bit nervous. Do try to not move so much, he explains, pinning the gun down to his head. He's going to shoot me. Am I going to die? No. Upon pulling the trigger, Shigaraki continues to struggle and forcefully moves his head just in time to miss the bullet, but it does blow off the left side of his ear clean off. The masked man continues to scream in pain as he cries out for Kurogiri. Ah, look at what you made me do. I missed, the green-haired boy continued to complain. The cloud of darkness too was rendered useless when Kaminari placed his hand on his metal torso. Make one move and I'll electrocute you to the afterlife, he threatens, sparks flying out of his hair. Even the one person he relied on for so long is unable to make a move. He then turns to one more person, Master. Master, please. I'm going to die. I need you. I still need to live. Ah, shut up already, it's irritating. You already started to remind me of a certain boy with an explosive voice, he mutters to himself. He then opens his eyes with his green eyes and lights up, striking fear into Shigaraki upon making eye contact. But unlike him, he never gave up till the end. Let alone calling someone else for help. No. Complain later when you get down there, okay. Stop it. Die. Bang. After one loud sound of the gun going off, the room falls silent once more. All the League of Villains have been taken care of via knockout or restrained, and the one bit of annoyance lies dead below Midoriya's feet. The blood flew towards his face, but he did not flinch one bit. It's done. He picks himself up from the body and walks towards where Kurogiri and Kaminari are at. The black shadow remains silent at utter disbelief. Both Kaminari, Asui, Yaoyorozu, Hagakure and Todoroki watch as Midoriya takes control and dominates the situation. Kaminari. He actually did it. Yaoyorozu. He pulled the trigger. Hagakure. That was hella intense. Todoroki. That was the first human he ever killed. Asui. That person wasn't a human. While the others were a little on the fence of what happened, Asui was the only one within the team to walk up to the lone green-haired boy. Getting closer, she can hear him breathing heavily. She's no expert in these things, but she knows that witnessing murder is bad enough. But actually committing it must be hard, maintaining his composure. Asui then puts her hand on top of shoulders once again. Upon his touch, she could feel it affecting him to his core. He's shaking. Are you okay? She then repeats the same question from before. Not really, he admits. Seeing his current state, the frog girl hops in front of him and cups his cheeks so his green eyes can meet her black ones. Asui can observe through the lack of colors that he was not okay. You're gonna have to be, we're almost done and then we can finally rest, she reassures him. Somehow, through her words Midoriya finds comfort and the strength to persevere. Asui then continues to clean and wipes the blood off his face. You did good, Izuku. Okay, thank you, Sue. Now then, I need to talk to you, Midoriya kindly asks, directing his attention to the black mist. Kurogiri wasn't fully focused on him as he was still trying to process the fact his boss was lying on the floor dead with his brains splattering out across the floor and blood surrounding his dead corpse. Both Kaminari and Midoriya notice his lack of focus, so the electric boy zapped his metal body without the need of Midoriya ordering him to. Kurogiri jolts in pain, which makes him able to fully focus on the threat in front of him. Good, you see me now, tell me where I can get one of your nomus. Kurogiri must have deduced this was their plan all along. I will not tell you. You will never get your hands on the nomu experiments. Midoriya only chuckles in response to his remarks. You think we want to use your nomus? No, don't get the idea twisted. I want to destroy them. Kurogiri gasps in shock as he sees the determination in his eyes. Destroying the nomus will put the experiment on innocent people's lives for their quirk to a stop. I just need the name of the person behind all the experiments, and I know damn well you know him. After all, you are a nomu yourself, are you not? I don't know. Well, according to my sources, Hagakure stole from UA's hidden files. It says you used to attend our school but died by the hands of villains. Whether you remember or not is irrelevant, so it's fine. You are not meant to know. Just tell me the name of all for one's associates, he asks. Kurogiri is put in a tight spot with no way to escape. Even if he tells him, there is no guarantee for his safety after all he's done to his teammates. On the other hand, he also does not know the extent of their cruelty. I'll tell you. He finally gives in and willingly tells the group of the man who was responsible for it all. It was an old doctor who chose to experiment on kids at an orphanage for possible nomu results. Although the name doesn't ring a bell to the group, Midoriya vaguely remembers, as he was the man who was responsible for revealing he is quirkless back when he was a kid. What luck! The young broccoli could not contain his smile as he now knew the group's next target. Asui, you got what you wanted. Midoriya, I got more than I needed. We're heading to the edge of town, north of here. Hagakure. Yay, field trip. Yaoyorozu, you have a plan. Kaminari. Course he does. We wouldn't be following him if that was not the case. Kodai. He better knows what he's doing. Kaibara. If he wants to make a change, he needs to. Todoroki. What about them? The group looks back to the chaos they made. Kurogiri, Spinner and Mr. Compressed spirits were broken, and Toga, Dabi and Twice were knocked unconscious. Midoriya stares at the mess they made. They get the message, so they'll be here waiting for us. What makes you so sure? Todoroki asks. The green boy only smiles at the thought. What happens when you kill its leader? Some may try to take its place, creating a power vacuum, or some take advantage of the situation and do their own thing, causing chaos. But, when the people witness the death of their leader by undisputed strength, they freeze and cower upon their presence. If they are smart, they will know who the next boss will be without the need to announce it, opening the door to the outside. That's if they are smart enough. Starting now, the LOV is under new leadership. Asui, Kaminari, Yaoyorozu and Todoroki display a warm smile as they witness Midoriya lead the group to a goal that they believe can be achieved. Hey, sorry Sue, but it appears we got another mission on board. Seems resting will have to wait a little longer, but I promise. When this is all over, we can take a break, Midoriya apologizes. Asui only looked back with a genuine smile. Well, rest are for the wicked. I'll make sure you hold that promise. Ribbit. Seeing her smile gave energy and boosted his stamina. Under such horrific circumstances, Midoriya can always rely on her and his teammates for moral support. We're coming for you next, Kyudai Garaki. Only the second chapter and things are already escalating. I'm getting used to publishing on more platforms, but if you want to read the story on A03, it has far more chapters, so if you want, you can. Anyways, if you enjoyed, like and book it to your favorites to stay updated. Comment as well on what you like and dislike, and I'll be sure to take your criticism to heart. On that note, have a good day, night. Chapter 3. Begin the hunt. Kaminari. Is it okay to steal this van? Kaibara. Relax, we're only going to borrow it. We're gonna return it. Kodai. If this goes smoothly, we'll be back before sunrise and they will never know. Todoroki, we're looking for a doctor. Yaoyorozu, that's our supposed target. We end him, we put an end to the Nomu experimentations. Hagakure, yay, we get to kill him. Quickly, Sue, put your paralyzing secrete mucus on my knife. Asui, I don't like it doing it too much yawns but okay. Plus, we're supposed to catch him. Kill. Midoriya, that's right, we're here. Yaoyorozu puts the brakes on the car. Where is it? Kaibara asks. Midoriya was the first one to exit the car. 3 miles from here, we'll see the research facility. And how do you know that? Kaminari asks. Midoriya remains silent, leading the group to think he is not fully sure. You don't actually know, do you, Izuku? Asui boldly asks. After thinking for a moment, Midoriya fiddles his hair in embarrassment as he turns around and smiles gleefully. Haha, I can only assume. Everyone. This guy. Welp, the green-haired boy says, if it turns out the information is wrong, we can just go back and kill the rest of the league, he reassures the team. The group finds comfort in the backup plan as they discuss the play of action. One by one, they fall out of the van. 1. Midoriya. Whoa Sue, hold on. 2. Asui. What's wrong? 1. I'm actually thinking of making you sit out on this one. 2. What? No, I can still do this. 1. Work with me Sue. I know how exhausted you are right now and the cold weather this far out is only causing you to fall asleep. Stay in the car where it's warm and take a break. 2. But, I want to help you. 1. And I want you safe so please. Leave it to us, okay? Trust me, we got this. Okay. After some hard effort convincing, the young frog finally let up and took up on his offer. He smiled happily as he pans his attention to Yaoyorozu. Can you watch over Sue for me please? Asking sincerely, the young girl smiled warmly as she was more than happy to do so. Walking up to the lone frog girl, he rests his hand on her head. I promised you a well-deserved rest right? Now you just wait here and we'll return shortly. Sue's heart races faster after every word he speaks, giving her the opposite effect. Now, more than ever she wants to go with him and make use of this excess energy but trusting him is more important. Come back soon, she pleads. Midoriya gives a gentle smile before returning to his team. Alright, time to suit up. The team that sets out changes their uniform to a darker color and lighter weight to move freely in. It was made clear they are to handle this mission as quietly and delicately as possible. Now that the plan is set out, the team splits into 3. Yaoyorozu and Asui stay behind to watch over the van, making sure they don't ruin it as a borrowed vehicle. Hagakure and Kaibara went on ahead as reconnaissance. Yaoyorozu, can you make me one metal plate real quick? Midoriya asks kindly. Sure thing, how big do you want it? The green hair to his hand is a demonstration, the size will not matter for now, I'll deal with it when it comes to use. Make it soon and I'll handle it from there. As per requested, she managed to make one metal plate within 5 minutes and handed it over to Midoriya. Good luck and stay safe okay? She asks them. Asui then peeks her eyes open. Izuku, stay safe. Her voice is sleepy and soft as she rests her head upon Yaoyorozu's lap. Kaminari appears out of nowhere, putting his shoulders around his neck. Don't worry, Asui, we will protect your boyfriend real good, he cheers joyfully. Quit messing around Kaminari. Come on, the young green boy with a face like pink brushes his arm off while the bolted boy laughs it off. Yaoyorozu smiles as they watch the 3 walk deep into the forest. After a couple hours passed making their way to the waypoint, they are met with the reconnaissance team who sits atop a hill, overseeing a very large facility. You guys found it, Kodai speaks out. Kaibara steps in. We wanted to go in and find the doctor but security is pretty tight inside so we thought it was best to wait for backup. You made the right call, Kaibara. Good job to both of you, Midoriya compliments. Todoroki walks to his side as he observes very closely. 1. Todoroki. So, what's the plan? 2. Midoriya. We have to find and capture him. Nothing is more important than that. 1. Okay, how are we going to deal with security? 2. HMPH. With this of course. Midoriya pulls out a metal plate to show the team. This is our ticket way in, he says with pride. The other looks at him and back at the small plate with confusion plastered on their face. And, how exactly? Kaibara asks curiously. Simple, she is the key to making this work, pointing his fingers to Kodai. Piecing it together, the team understood the intention on how to work the plate with her quirk. After Midoriya hands out communication earpieces, the plan is set in motion. Now then, he looks back with the metal plate in his hand, let's head on down. They walk to the far side left of the facility, still retaining its distance. Midoriya then placed the metal plate on the floor standing up. Kodai, try to enlarge the size of this to your absolute fullest and I'll handle the rest. Kodai understood and placed both her fingers on it, and with her quirk allows the small plate to grow at an accelerating rate. Before they knew it, the group looked up to find a towering piece of metal that could almost reach Mt. Lady's height. That's it. That's all I got. Pushing to her limits, she falls back exhausted. Holy shit, that is huge, Kaminari comments in absolute awe. Kaibara then offers his hand to pick her up from the ground. Kodai lays her weight on him for support. Is that enough? She asks. Midoriya, with a satisfied look on his face, thanked her. More than enough. The height roughly estimates 15 meters in height, and because they were so far away from the facility, the soldiers outside probably hadn't noticed due to it being at night. So, what are we going to do with this? Kaminari asks. That's when Midoriya steps up and plays his role into the plan. Easy, Midoriya walks to the backside of the plate facing towards the facility and places his right foot on it. He carefully adjusts it so he can get the most pressure from the center. Kaminari. Hey, you gotta be kidding me. Seriously, Todoroki. Even for you, Midoriya. You have to agree this is getting a little crazy. Kaibara. This is the guy we're following. Kodai. Hey, so much for going in as quietly as possible. Midoriya. Hagakure is already inside, probably with the code to let us in, so we can't keep her waiting now. Midoriya focuses his concentration to the point of his foot as he excessively takes in and out deep breaths. One for all. Full cowling, his strength covers his entire body to a point of his right foot. Full cowling, 45%, he places his foot against the metal plate and in one fell swoop, he effortlessly kicks the large metal plate down. The ground below him ruptures and the metal tower begins to fall down on top of the facility. Oh my God. Upon impact, a large shockwave covers across the land, shaking the trees, and a large echo booms ever so loudly. The absolute destruction tore down the walls on the left side with little to no issue at all, and with the constant sirens and people yelling from a distance, they knew by then the plan worked and security panic was at an all-time high. Alright, Kodai, you can stay here and take a well-deserved rest. Once you regain your strength, head on back to Asui and Yaoyorozu, okay? Kaibara, you're up. Drill through the ground to the other side. The orders were given and Kaibara wasted no time and turned the top portion of his body into a drill and guided the team down the burrow. With the commotion being directed to the left side of the chaos, the team borrows the right side where security is weakened. Kaibara digs out of the floor and the rest quickly scouts the surroundings. Midoriya's right, there aren't many people here, Todoroki mentions. Kaminari. Now, we stealth. The group makes it towards the door, which is already open. All they see is a bloody knife dangling around with nothing holding it. Hey, over here, Hagakure calls out very loudly. Midoriya, why's the knife all red? They all quickly went inside with Midoriya closing the hatch behind them. Tell me what you know, Hagakure. Well, for the most part, I know the layout for the first floor and most of the guards here are either taken care of or went outside. The only issue is that the doctor's not here. He's not here. That's not what I meant. Hagakure interrupts Midoriya, I meant here on this floor. I couldn't find him, but he's here. I heard from the guards when I asked them nicely. There's a floor below this place but the elevators are shut down. I know where the control room is, so we just need to get there. Kaibara, so we just need to get there, huh? Kaminari, once we take the control room, we take the facility. Midoriya, let's go. Sneakily passing through the corridors, Hagakure halts the team and allows Midoriya to peek through the wall. It's beyond that wall, she explains. Seeing as how there are two guards at the door while the other ones they come across did not, he puts trust in her. 1. Midoriya, we need to get them out of the way. 2. Hagakure, easy peasy, I can do it. 1. Can you? 2. I'm invisible, I got this. He may not look at her directly, but the confidence in her voice puts some sense of ease in his heart. 1 guard, do you hear the commotion outside? 2 guard, it's literal chaos outside. Thank God we were not there. The two engage in their casual conversation, oblivious to what is about to unfold. Enjoying their conversation, he turns slightly to the left as they make contact. The second he turned, his nerves dropped cold as a floating knife, drenched in red blood, rose up to his buddy's head. Hey, watch out! His warning was a tad too late as the knife dives down and slashes across his buddy's legs. He falls screaming before getting knocked out from getting a cross in the face. The first guard witnessed all of it as his buddy fell to the ground unconscious. Oops, sorry to interrupt, but your conversation needs to be cut short. Teehee, a girl. In a panic, the remaining soldier holds his gun up to the knife. Why you put the knife down, freak? He shouts in desperation. He did not know what he was dealing with. All he saw was a flying knife waving in the air like a toy plane. Drop the knife. The second he yelled, the knife dropped, hearing the clank upon contact. The atmosphere was so quiet that all he could hear was the pacing of his breathing. He doesn't know if it is okay or not to drop his guard when the enemy he's dealing with is someone who is invisible. The group watches closely as they wait for Hagakure to finish toying with his prey. Midoriya in particular was losing patience. Sigh, that's enough, Hagakure, Midoriya calls out, revealing his location. The lone soldier points his gun towards the corridor where a young boy pops out of. Why you? Stop where you are and freeze. The way he spoke was the least intimidating cry he has ever heard and did not even bother to stop pressing forward. He's mocking me. What is with those eyes? This damn brat. Without a word, he pulls the trigger when Midoriya approaches him closer, but the gun pointing at the green hair boy soon diverts away and then points to one of his legs. In that moment, he forgot there was another person, someone invisible, and because of that, mistakes were made. It was too late and he pulled the trigger, riddling his own right leg with bullets from his own gun. The soldier drops to the floor screaming, only to be silenced when he gets a face full of an invisible kick. Grab his card, Midoriya orders, and Kaibara searches the two bodies. Hagakure, you there? He then directs his attention to his teammate. 1. Hagakure, here. 2. Midoriya, what the hell were you doing? 1. I was taking him out as told. 2. You were toying with him and wasting precious time. 1. I know, but. 2. The more time we waste dawdling, the more it gives the opportunity for the doctor to escape. 1. 2. I'm all for playing Hagakure, but at least know the difference between that and a serious situation. 1. Quote. Okay, gotta tone down Hagakure's sadistic side from now on. Opening parenthesis. Wait, when did she become this sadistic? After scolding his teammate, he goes back to the mission in hand. After witnessing the display of his friends, he has to be more cautious from now on and keep them under control. Ah, found it, Kaibara announces, handing it to Midoriya and opening the door. They take control of the security room. They enter the room, leaving Kaminari last. Hey, don't sweat it too much. You did good, handing her the knife she dropped. Hagakure hesitated for a moment but eventually grabbed her knife back. Thanks, she said back, bringing about a nice smile on his face. Okay, time is running short, so we'll split into teams from here. Me, Todoroki and Kaibara will continue to the underground floors while you stay behind here and watch over us through the cameras, while Hagakure stays behind and protects you since she has the element of stealth. If you see any inconvenience, stir them away from us so this can go smoothly. Got it, Midoriya briefly explained and the team understood. Everyone. Roger. Every one of them had a role to play. Oh, before the green-haired boy impatiently runs off, he turns to the two being left behind. Store the bodies away in that closet and clean the blood. We don't want anyone coming here suspecting anything, he adds, in which both Kaminari and Hagakure unwillingly comply. Even if it is disgusting. The remaining three head towards the only elevator that shows going down, and thanks to Kaminari, the elevators are ready to be used. As the three enter, they notice only 2 floors displayed. We're currently at floor 1, so what's the other 2? Todoroki asks. Midoriya, if I were them, I would plan an escape route, so level 3 below must be where they stored their own getaway vehicles. Kaibara, so it must be the 2nd level. Worth a shot, taking the initiative to press the button. The three wait in awkward silence until the noise of the ding rings their ears and the elevator opens itself. The young teens step out and what they saw sinks their stomach to a low that would cause them to be sick. We're here. All around them were hibernating Nomus contained in a big capsule. Midoriya could see numerous black creatures in different shapes and sizes, many with multiple body parts ranging from legs to arms and even faces. The only similarity these monsters share is the one brain bringing them all together. Kaibara. This is horrific. Todoroki. Midoriya. Well, it seems you found it. A creaky voice echoes through the room, grabbing the attention of the three. A small old man sits menacingly in the shadows with two big silhouettes standing directly behind. Is that him? Kaibara asks the green-haired boy. Instead of answering, the old man speaks in his place. Is that him? And who are you referring to me as? Have some respect for the elders, young man, for I am the ingenious doctor who has perfected the great experiment. My pride and joy will bring the world to its knees. Now, I'll kill you. In the middle of his monologue, a small concentrated burst of wind flies past, cutting a chunk of his mustache hair and just barely scratching his right cheek. The doctor drops to the floor squealing in fear. What the hell do you think you are doing? I could have died. Shut up, he demanded, his green eyes darkening with a light bolt of red to express his suppressed anger. Hearing you talk pisses me off. He lowers his hand back down after firing a small, concentrated air pressure as a form of warning. Hee. Nomus, get these kids and protect me. The old man orders as he crawls on his force towards the nearby elevator. He's gonna get away, Kaibara shouts. The two Nomus received its order and both dashed towards the three with unbelievable speed. Midoriya remained still as the two Nomus came to a brief stop by Kaibara drilled hands and Todoroki's full power of his ice burst. Kaibara, out of the way. Todoroki, never thought we'd be fighting these monsters again. The drilled pressure pushes back the Nomu while Todoroki unleashes more ice, sending him flying up and crashing with the ceiling. Both Nomus were handled with ease by the overwhelming strength they displayed and struck immense fear into the doctor. How did you do that? My Nomus, being defeated that easily. I don't care what you call yourself, Midoriya finally speaks up, walking slowly. I don't care who you are. Be it the experiment is a huge success or a failure, it does not take away from the fact you killed, mutilated and violated many bodies for the sake of preserving the quirk. His anger shows through his darkened eyes as his tone increasingly gets more violent and threatening. You are not perfect. You are a vile insect that will die no human will ever experience, this promise I make. The old man screams an unsightly screech as he bolts to the elevator. Upon closing, the last thing he saw was the pure glare of a young man barely holding himself from committing murder. Kaibara, he's getting away. No he won't, Midoriya announces. Kaibara, chase him down. His only quirk is keeping him young. He's so weak that even an ant can harm him. After all, he's only human. Creaks a slight smile. Let the hunt begin. He understood the order and immediately started chasing down the room to the other side, leaving only him and Todoroki. Midoriya. With the recent discoveries of the true origin of Nomus and how they are salvaged from corpses because of the importance of the quirk, Nomus are practically the dead walking without them actually knowing. The young broccoli boy balls his fist tight as anger seeps through in an explosive amount of emotional rage. Destroy them all. Nothing was needed to say as Todoroki understood by the weight of his words. Building up the energy he's been storing up for a while, he unleashes his quirk in a large burst of frozen spikes, piercing every Nomu in the vicinity. His ice quirk widens its range as far back as the other end of the room and in mere seconds, every Nomu sleeping is frozen within his ice. Next up, Midoriya activated his quirk. One for all, full cowling, 50%, he expands his arms out and in one motion, claps his hands together. The immense pressure of the shockwave was strong enough to shatter every ice within the large room and along with the Nomus that was still frozen in. Water pours out as every Nomu Todoroki put on ice is reduced to tiny pieces of ice, laying on the floor. He reduced all of them to little grains of Nomus. Todoroki looks around in utter disbelief, never ceases to amaze him of how powerful Midoriya is. And in fear that this may not be the full length of his strength. Burn them all, he then says coldly, burn everything here. I want no trace of this operation left for others to even think about. All that's left is him. Reduce everything to ashes. Todoroki activates his left side as he engulfs every section of where the Nomus used to be with flames, burning every remnant of what was before. Now all that's left is to deal with them, he says. Just then, the two look back to find the leftover Nomus the doctor had by his side, regain consciousness and revving up to move again. There was no mistaking they would have to deal with it, but this soon was within Midoriya's expectation. Annoying yet interesting. Midoriya, you ready? Todoroki, of course, on your word. Midoriya looks back to his companion then to the dangers ahead. In these types of situations is where a hero would smile, giving hope to a hopeless situation. Then and there, he smirks a devilish smile that would affect even the Nomus. Let's go. Chapter 4. Interrogation. As Kaibara hunts down the doctor, Midoriya and Todoroki are left behind to deal with the two Nomus left alive. The battle was put on the standstill, but the reckless fighting style pushed the two teenagers to the edge. No matter how much Todoroki freezes or burns them, the thick skin makes it next to completely resistant to the temperature. As for Midoriya, the kicks and punches he puts through, the buffed Nomu tanks it all. We're going nowhere with this Midoriya, Todoroki explains. The broccoli grabs a hold of him and pulls back, dodging a powerful ground pound from one of the Nomus. 1. Midoriya, we can take him on. Stop pulling your punches, Todoroki. 2. Todoroki, what do you mean? 1. These monsters are no longer human. Just walking corpses using the quirks of the deceased. 2. Midoriya. 1. No need to hold back. Hesitate for a second and it will be your downfall. One for all. 50%. Midoriya takes an animal stance as he prepares for the two Nomus charging straight at them. While the half and half boy were distracted, a Nomu came bolting at him. Unable to react in time, he stares at the eyes of the monster with the thought of it ending his life. Even if Todoroki was a tad too late, Midoriya caught it seconds before and reacted quickly. With his quirk, he grabs the speeding Nomus passing him by the arm and quickly tosses him to the side where the other Nomu was, colliding together and pushing them back. I told you, one mistake and it will be the end of you, he states, never once taking his eyes off the enemy. Seeing how determined he is, sprites a fire in his heart. In moments, flames begin to erupt on his left side of his body while on his right side, his fist freezes into a perfect icicle ball. You're right, they're no longer human. We can go all out. Midoriya, we'll be doing them a favor. With this, they can finally rest in peace. Going back to Kaibara, he was a little too short and the elevator door shuts in front of his face. Bastard, stop running away, he shouts in frustration. Kyudai Garaki laughs menacingly as he feels confident in his plan. You can't get away from me. Kaibara activates his quirk on both his arms and drills open the elevator door easily. Taking the risk, he leaps down the elevator and lands on top, alerting the old man. To his knowledge, he knows he's here just by hearing the screech of a little girl inside. I told you, you can't escape. Using his quirk, he drills through the elevator's ceiling wide to find the lone old man cowering in the corner in fear. Hey, you look pretty worn out, ya damn geezer, he comments. Knowing that he has nothing to defend himself, his fear overcomes him and loses consciousness. The tears and snot flowing through gave Kaibara a repulsive expression. This is the hunt, such a major letdown. Kaibara radios in Midoriya, letting him know the target is obtained. All that's left is to wipe out every lingering evidence of the Nomu project. Wasting no time, the two teenagers decide to quickly end it. Patiently, Todoroki waits for the Nomu to approach within the range of his space while revving his flames. The second the monster took another step, he dodged the punch by drifting along the ice. Taking the advantage to its intelligence, he manages to get behind it and leaps onto its back. Because of its gigantic body stature, he dodges the oncoming hands effortlessly. Burn, putting his left hand on the one thing that makes it vulnerable, he ignites his left hand in blazing hot fire to its utmost limit and melts the brain in mere seconds. From fire melts the organ to complete charcoal. Leaving the Nomu completely brain-dead, the corpse falls to the ground. Todoroki triumphs but is exhausted from the fight. He never once had the chance to go all out but then now, and both the quirks of fire and ice are finally taking its toll on his body. Midoriya, how's he doing? Averting his concerns from himself, he looks towards the area where he last saw him. He was prepared to back him up, despite exceeding his limit. Instead, it was at that point he once again reminded the man before him was not the boy he faced back at the UA sports festivals. Under the rubble of debris, the dust cleared, and a young boy stood alone with him holding onto a severed arm of the beaten Nomu. His body covered in pools of purple ooze, he stares into the ravaged carcass. Todoroki couldn't believe his eyes. The state of the body was in complete mess and the center of its body was ripped out completely. Almost as if a wild animal was let loose. We apprehended our target, he looks back at Todoroki with his usual smile. Come on, let's head on back and regroup with Kaibara and them. What Todoroki saw could not be distinguished whether the smile he showed to him was real or not. After displaying such anonymous strength, his aura left the man completely stunned, and a little concerned. After the battle with the Nomus, Midoriya and Todoroki destroyed everything in the bottom floor, causing a massive explosion that drew the attention of soldiers outside. Receiving the mission being accomplished, Kaminari used his quirk one last time to overwrite the systems of the facility, causing a blackout. Unfortunately, it left him a little brain dead, but Hagakure made sure to protect him as they made their escape. Once everyone is out, they watch as the facility burns down due to the massive destruction they caused. The group walks through the thick forest and Kaibara watches as he carries the doctor back to where the girls are waiting. Yaoyorozu waits patiently as Sue and Kodai sleep soundly in the van. While tending to her equipment, she hears the bushes rustle in the distance. Quickly, she pulls out her gun readying to shoot. Relax, Yaoyorozu, it's me, Midoriya pops from the trees, along with the rest of the team. Midoriya, your suit, it's dirty, she points out. He laughs it off as he agrees while the others keep their distance from him from the atrocious smell. So, did you find the doctor? She asks curiously. Kaibara steps up as he throws the unconscious old man in front of her, letting her know that the mission was a complete success. A warm smile was placed upon her face as not only they found their target but also, they all came back together alive as Midoriya promised. Sue wakes up to the sound of people talking and Midoriya was sitting alone on the side of the car. She leans up from the seat as she wipes her eyes for a clearer vision. 1. Asui. Aizuku. 2. Midoriya. Hey sleepyhead. 1. You came back. 2. We all did, as promised. 1. Everyone. 2. And more. We managed to capture our target. We're gonna bring him back to the LOV's hideout in a moment. 1. Good. I'm glad. Sue, although still half asleep, tilts her body forward so that Midoriya catches her. Whoa, Sue, you almost fell, be careful, he panicked. Sue then wraps her arms around him and brings his body close. Sue, I am drenched in Nomu gunk. I probably smell pretty bad so please let me go, he asks, face filling with red heat. I don't care, you're here, that's all that matters. Even still, she hugs him despite the putrid smell of the purple gunk she does not care about because all that ran through her mind was how grateful and happy she was to see him here again, alive and safe within her arms. She then looks up to him with her face full red in embarrassment. Thank you for coming back. After saying what she wanted, she gladly went back to her slumber on top of his chest. Midoriya stood completely still, trying his best not to lose his cool but the rest of the group saw it firsthand and each one gave a cheeky smirk of approval to him. From there, he felt even more embarrassed. Before the sunrise approach, the team made sure to return the van they borrowed and had to walk 1 to 2 miles worth to reach their hideout. Midoriya carried the doctor for the rest of the way until they finally reached their home. We're back, Midoriya announces. They have been gone for hours on end so they expected the League to either abandon this place which would force Midoriya to hunt them down and kill each and one of them. Or they chose to stay and hear out his proposition. Least to say, it was a little bit of both. The ones who remained are Dabi, Toga, Twice and Kurogiri while the only ones who were missing are Mr. Compress and Spinner. It seems some of you chose to stay. Wise decision, Midoriya compliments. Dabi still displayed some distrust between the two groups while Toga and Twice showed some form of interest. Twice. I'm interested in what you guys are doing is all. Who the hell cares? You killed Shigaraki so, it's not like I care or anything be baka. Toga. Like Twice says. You killed our leader claiming to have a goal greater than his. Dabi. You speak like you can change the world. Prove to us that your words are not just empty promises like Shigaraki. Shigaraki, he repeats, that reminds me. Where is his body? Midoriya asks concernedly. Toga steps up excitedly. Oh, he was stinking up the place, so I had to cut him to bits and stashed his corpse in a bag in the back door. You okay with that, right? Is she serious? The extent of disgust never ceases to amaze the group as they are still not aware of how deranged these people can get. The group looks towards Midoriya patiently waiting to speak up, but it appears the green-haired boy is still trying to process the information. Oh okay, I was gonna do something with his body, but I never expected this. Well the plan doesn't change, Sue? He asks. We can't use his body so I ask kindly. Can you go with Toga and drop off the body bags at the nearest police station? Asui can see him trembling as he asks her to do something he clearly does not want to do himself. Oh okay, she was more hesitant to do it but since it came from him, she has no choice. At least with Toga tagging along, Asui dumped the responsibility of carrying Shigaraki's corpse to her. Asui and Toga set out, leaving the rest of them resting from the hard work they went through. Now then, Midoriya walked to the sleeping body. You guys have a vacant room I can use. We have one, but what for? Dabi asks. Midoriya picks up the doctor's body and walks towards the direction he pointed. I need to talk with this guy privately, and if I get what I want, it will be quick, so don't mind the screams. He closes the door behind him while the rest of his party finds their respective rooms to rest, leaving the League on their own, waiting for their calls. The screams. Hey, you awake? Dr. Garaki, wake up. We need to talk. Feeling his cheeks being patted, the old man wakes up to a dark room and a pair of menacing eyes staring him down. In a panic, he screeches loudly, why you are that kid from before? Wait, where are my Nomus? Assessing the situation, he finds himself tied down by a rope to a wooden chair. The room is dark but can make out being totally empty of anything he can use. So right now, it was just him and the boy. We took care of your 2 Nomus and destroyed your lab. Your facility is gone, and so is your life's work of research. The doctor had to take the time and process what the young boy was saying, and whether he wanted to believe it or not is irrelevant considering the current situation. Why, you monster, you burned all my work. All my subjects. My life's work is gone. Don't give me that bullcrap, Midoriya interrupts. You call me a monster, but your hands are dirtier than mine. The lives you toyed with know no bounds, and for that, you will pay. Reaching in close, Midoriya can sense the overwhelming fear in his eyes. I'll let you know, I need some information out of you, and I'm willing to go the extra length via torture if I have to, so if you pass out one more time, I will not hesitate to kill you. All you have to do is answer the questions I give, and you will be off scot-free. His light-hearted attitude did not match his life-threatening words that Garaki really struggled not to pass over. Why, you promise? His pathetic plea came out as pathetically as one expects. Regardless, Midoriya vows and would honor their agreement when he gets what he wants. Oh, okay. The questions Midoriya asked Garaki quickly asked in detailed form regarding his experiments, any workers he affiliated with, and any other events regarding underground deals. What Midoriya wanted more out of him was the people he works with, needing the information of names and places to find them. The more he insists, the more hesitant the doctor becomes, as the green-haired boy knows he has yet to rat out more of his big dogs. I need to know, doctor. Some people like All for One air dangerous threats to the world I'm trying to recreate, so I need to deal with them. All for One is already dealt with, and I killed Shigaraki, but I know that's not enough. I need more. This young boy killed Mr. Shigaraki. Who is this kid? Wasn't he supposed to be a hero? These undermined tactics. The way these people act. Ruthless, cold, cruel. Doing anything necessary to achieve their own ideals without being held back. They act like true villains. I don't want to get hurt. I'll tell you. Without any more complaints, Kyudai Garaki willingly snitches on his previous employers and dealers to avoid any more pain and torture. In 1 hour, Midoriya manages to confidently extract out everything he knows. When the time was done, the doctor begged and begged for his life to be spared. Midoriya contemplates his request and comes to a fair decision that feels like both of them would be satisfied with. Okay, you are free to go, Midoriya speaks out. Kyudai Garaki, I am. Yep, you did good by me, Mr. Garaki. You are free to go. His heartwarming smile calmed his speeding heart, but was still confused when Midoriya walked out the room while he was still tied up. Opening the door, another young man with yellow hair walks in his place. Midoriya, I told you were free, but I did not say you would walk out whole. You won't leave like yourself. The old man fidgets in utter horror as the electric boy walks up behind him and places all 10 of his fingers on his head. Now I'm not sure if this process will kill you or not, but at the bare minimum, I want to at least leave a permanent scar in your psyche. After he's done, you will no longer be yourself but nothing more than a brain-dead old man who is useless to anyone. Kyudai Garaki. And no. Don't do this, please. Kaminari. Ayo, geezer. Keep still, would ya? I haven't done this to anyone, so I'm trying my best to not kill you. Kyudai Garaki. Without my intellectual genius, then I am nothing. Midoriya. This is the price you pay for hurting a lot of people and taking countless more. The following day, the police department receives a distressing call. Kenji Saragame and his group were first on the scene of the call. The old dog walks up to the scenario, seeing people trembling in fear and crying. Woof, what is the status of the situation? He asks an officer. The man turns upon his touch. He's shaking. The man was seen sweating profusely through his uniform and his eyes filled with fear he himself does not understand. It was only then he understood the grasp of the situation when he peeked inside of the bags, and the utter horror and disgust he felt was the first in his career due to the gruesome and messy it was. Inside, the 3 garbage bags contain body parts of one human being, sliced up and filled with the putrid smell of his own blood. Officer 1. This is monstrous. Who the sick freak even did this? Officer 2. The body here. We were able to ID it. It's Tamura Shigaraki. Officer 3. Shigaraki, the leader of the League of Villains. Officer 1. Who could have done this? Saragame wasn't even able to voice his own opinion without being interrupted by another colleague of his. What is it now? On the verge of snapping towards his cadets, he remains his composure. We received news from hunters at the edge of the city. There. Was an absolutely destroyed facility and, speak boy, how does this concern us? The dog barks at his fellow colleague. What was read in the report must be serious if it was something to put him on edge. We found Dr. Kyudai Garaki, one of All for One's followers and the main manufacturer for the Nomus roaming the forest near the destroyed facility. Is that so? We believe this facility is owned by him and is where the Nomu experiments have taken place, so we quickly apprehended him with no fuss, he explains. Seeing some good news in the situation, the chief makes light of the news. Fantastic news. Where is the doctor now? We can probably get some information off of him. Wait, they arrested him with no issue. That easily? That is where the bad news comes in, he announces. The doctor has sustained serious damage to the nervous system of his brain. Our guess is someone with an electrical quirk fried his brain to the point he is incapable of function. 1. Saragame. What about the facility? The Nomu experiments? 2. Cadet. There was nothing scavengable there. Other than the big metal plate that appeared out of nowhere. The more we investigated to find any proof, the more we were certain all of the evidence were burned, reduced to ashes. 1. Impossible, how can this be? 2. We have nothing to go off on. I'm sorry we couldn't come back with a better report, sir. 1. It's okay. You did your best, great work. Saragame could not believe what he was hearing. First, they found a couple bags filled with bits and pieces of Shigaraki's corpse, and now they found out about a destroyed facility and a brain-dead doctor whom they can't even get any information out of. Hold on, you said something about an electric quirk and burnt ashes, correct? He directs his attention to the cadet. Without a word, he nods confidently. He then ponders about the recent events of now and the before. After the pieces clicked together, he demanded with a stern voice. Bring up the reports about the missing students of UA. Now, returning back to the department, the old rushes to his office to pick up the lone file on his desk. Quickly, he flips through the pages until he arrives at the section of the identified students. Izuku Midoriya, age 16, quirk, super strength. Tsuyu Asui, age 16, quirk, frog. Denki Kaminari, age 16, quirk, electrification. Momo Yaoyorozu, age 16, quirk, creation. Shoto Todoroki, age 16, quirk, half cold half hot. Toru Hagakuri, age 16, quirk, invisibility. Yui Kodai, age 16, quirk, size. Sen Kaibara, age 16, quirk, gyrate. These are literal kids and they caused this much damage. 8 missing students, caused destruction and harm at UA. Overviewing their quirks, he picked out 2 of them who resembled the report his cadet gave him. Denki Kaminari with his electrification quirk and Shoto Todoroki with his hot quirk. It makes sense now. At first, Saragame had assumed these 8 students strayed away from the path of heroism, but that may not be the case. With the leader of the League of Villains dead and the events with Dr. Garaki and the Nomus. Something is going on, something the department nor UA has yet to grasp. Is it safe to assume those 8 kids do not align with the villains? What is their goal for doing this? What are they planning? Chapter 5, Internship. What took place at UA was a tough one to recover from. So much so that the school had to enforce a 1-week shutdown, preventing every student, teacher and staff from attending the campus. Doing so gave every young one the opportunity to go home and process what happened. After the 1-week hiatus, the school reopens and Class 1A returns as per usual, but the effect Midoriya and his group left on them gave each and one of them scars they could never truly heal from. A lone brunette girl in particular took that moment more personally among most. Aside from her 2 closest friends betrayed her and their friends, but the way Midoriya and Tsuyu acted towards her were unnatural. The way Midoriya acted and how Tsuyu pinned her down so forcefully, it was hard for her to believe that the Tsuyu and Midoriya she knew back then were the same ones before. It was scary. Regardless, she walks the school's hallways with a saddened expression, unable to put up the happy face she always has even if she tries. Only then when she approaches the front door to her class has she gathered enough willpower to walk in the class with a smile. Good morning guys. She enters her class with the usual optimistic meet and greet as she remembers doing before, but the atmosphere did not meet up with the mood she was trying to set. Everywhere she looked, all she saw were disheartening souls. Ashido, Mineta, Kota, Sato, Aoyama and Tokiyami remained silent, not even bothering to look towards her way, while people like Shiro attempted to greet her but could not bring himself to smile. Good morning, Uraraka. Long time no see. The only person who stood up and talked to her was none other than the spiky red-hair Kirishima. I'm grateful you came, followed by Ida. Both boys walk up to her and try to engage in a casual conversation, but the mood keeps bringing down the round-faced girl. Hey, where are Bakugo and Jiro? She asks after observing the entire classroom. Everyone seemed to present but those two, and it was unlike them to miss out on school. We don't know where Bakugo currently is, but he will be sure to be here, despite being tardy. But as for Jiro, Kirishima tries his best to push out his words, but something stuck his throat, preventing him from speaking. Uraraka waits for some form of explanation, or else she would have to assume the worst. And right now, she is trying her hardest not to break down. Quote. We tried to pick her up from her room but she did not answer. Ida stepped in. What happened between her and Kaminari stuck deep in her heart. Something must have happened between them that we yet do not fully understand. She hasn't left her room for weeks, and as of right now, if she continues to do so. Stop it. Don't cry right now. Stay strong. We cannot help her. Uraraka froze in place in absolute disbelief. At this point, her emotions could no longer be held back as water began to resurface from her eyes. Those idiots. How could they do this to us? After all we have been through, how could they just flat out betray us so easily? Kirishima spouts out, appearing to also be unable to hold in his inner frustrations. As he recklessly speaks out, a young girl in pink inevitably overhears their conversation as she sits close to the front of the class. No longer able to hold back her tears, her loud scream of her cry rings out along with the sound of the first bell ringing. Uraraka watches as Kirishima again tends to his friend's well-being while the others walk to their respective seats. As she does also. Good morning class. A familiar voice entered the room as soon as the students took their seats. A scrawny old man in blonde hair makes his appearance, which shocks the entire class. Mineta was first to point it out as he tries his best to call out his name without stuttering. Why your all might. I am here, he responds in a monotone voice. His signature catchphrase would usually emphasize power and bravado to inspire the ones who he says it to, but this one had no punches behind his bark. The way he says it so casually could only infer that even he too has his spirit broken. I will fulfill Aizawa-sensei's role as a substitute teacher until he fully recovers. Now we will continue on to the attendance. Followed by the second bell, a young spiky-haired boy quietly walks in and takes his seat right behind a missing desk belonging to Izuku Midoriya. You're late, young Bakugo, All Might points out. Although acknowledged, the once explosive man remains silent, refusing to answer back. As much as he feels he needs to be respected as a teacher, instigating him would only work as it might worsen the already gloomy situation, so All Might chose to let it pass and continue on with the attendance. The old man marks down everyone presently here other than Jiro, who is still locked in her room, isolated. Even still, the class continues on. The lesson went on as peacefully as it could. It was towards the end of the day where the bell rang its last alarm, allowing the students to leave and go back to their dorms. Everyone was quick to pack up but unable to leave their seat without the permission from All Might, who has other plans in store. You guys are free to go, but I ask for Kirishima, Uraraka, Bakugo and Shiro to stay please. The called students stop in their tracks to pan back to the old man. I need to speak with these few students for a moment, the rest of you can go, he reassures. Ida looks back to make eye contact with Uraraka to make sense of it, but even she is unaware of what All Might's intentions are. Ashido tries to ask Kirishima but he draws a blank. The most he could tell her is not to worry and go back to the dorms to wait for them. After everyone gradually leaves the premise, the only ones left are All Might and a few kids. Kirishima. So, All Might, sir, what is it you want to discuss with us? Shiro. Yay, I'm also curious about that. Uraraka looks around with a blank stare but notices Bakugo, who seems to be really focused on what he has to say. The blonde bunny-haired dude walks up to the few kids as he hands each and one of them a paper format. This paper is for you guys to sign. I ask you to apply for an internship under me. What came out of his words sounded incredible and a great opportunity for the kids if it came at a proper time. Instead of feeling ecstatic to work under the previous #1 hero, they look at the paper with doubt, feeling a bit skeptical. Us? Why us? Why now? Zero asks blatantly. I want you guys to work in my department as I have a specific job that I feel, that I'm sure I need you guys' assistance for, he answers back. Piss off. Bakugo finally speaks for once, throwing the paper back at him. I don't want to join a random ass group without even knowing what it's for. This is just gonna be a big waste of time. All Might quietly kneels to the ground and picks up the papers he threw while Kirishima tries to reason with the spiky hair boy. Young Bakugo, I need your help in saving young Midoriya. He finally speaks his true intention that grabs everyone's attention in the room. The only reason I'm doing this is for the sake of young Midoriya and the others. My true intention for this is that I'm putting together a small team from different schools. You want to put together a team? Of what? High schoolers to go up against Midoriya? Zero speaks out. You guys know Midoriya better than anyone else. If anyone has a chance to bring them in, it would be you guys. Without my quirk, I'm just a retired old weakling. I can't rely on the pros as they just want to capture them and send them to jail, but with you guys. You want us to save them? A feminine voice speaks on his behalf as she reaches down the papers where he kneeled and picked up the leftover papers to hand it back to him. You want us to save our friends, right? She assumed the best and most unrealistic scenario as he displayed a light smile, telling her his true intentions. You assume they can be saved. Bakugo turns back around to All Might. I know damn well why you want to save Midoriya. Just the thought of it makes me sick. Is your intention really that bright, huh, All Might? Anger seeps through his emotions. Uraraka and the others stepped back from the conversation as it seemed a bit too personal. 1. All Might. I want to save young Midoriya and the others. Nothing more. 2. Bakugo. I don't buy that crap. You only want to do it because you now realize how much deep shit you're in knowing Midoriya's gone rogue. 1. Quote. 2. He does have that quirk after all. Am I wrong? What does he mean by Deku's quirk? What is going on? Uraraka could not process the depth of their conversation, but All Might does show some signs of fear. I want to do this because I care for the students of UA. I have to believe that my intentions are not that shallow as to think like that. I've upheld the title of #1 ranked hero for so long. I just want to save the kids as I have always used to. But they did this on their own accord, right? Can there not be a slight possibility to assume the worst and they chose the path of villainy? Zero brings up a good point. The possibility of them actually turning to the opposite side is the only reasonable choice, but All Might could not help but think there was another, more illogical reason. Whether he wants to assume mind control or anything of that sort. Right now, the acts they are committing resembles that of a villain. I have to believe Deku and Sue are doing this against their will, Uraraka speaks out again. Everyone including Bakugo looks towards her way with doubt in their minds. I like to think I know my friends pretty well. Sue would never do something like this because she is a kind and straightforward person. She always has the best intentions for everyone and is a very good person at heart. As for Midoriya, from speaking about Sue to Midoriya, she begins to hesitate as her face glows red in embarrassment. As for Deku, Deku is a pure-hearted man who wanted to become a hero for the sole purpose of saving people. Amongst most students with their goals, his is the most pure and good. In some sense, All Might can relate to her feelings about him as that was the reason he chose him to be the next successor to One for All. He's a genuinely good man, so that's why I cannot believe he would do something like this. He's saved so many people, so I don't know why he would cause us so much pain and destruction. Uraraka. Bakugo glances towards Round Face with a gentle look, recollecting the first time he ever saw Midoriya commit an act of heroism by saving him from that slug monster. So, this team you are trying to put together. Will it just be us? We will meet the rest of them tomorrow. I just wanted to tell you guys beforehand to let you know what you are signing up for. Soon, I will see who comes and who will not. After that, the group was dismissed and everyone was able to go home. Kirishima and Zero went up ahead. After Uraraka had a brief conversation with All Might, she walks the halls before getting interrupted by a young spiky man coming out of the boys' bathroom. Uraraka. Bakugo. You are. Uraraka. The two walked down the sidewalk together. In silence, as the two did not know what to say to each other. Uraraka would occasionally take a couple glances back without him knowing, and every time over, he displayed a sorrowful expression which only dampened the already gloomy mood. Hey Bakugo, Deku is gone now along with our friends. I never really asked how you are doing. Are you okay? I'm fine. Why would that shit bother me? He speaks out. Every attempt she makes to make conversation, it always comes dry. It was only then when she speaks out on Deku's situation that she gets a reaction out of him. Deku is your childhood friend, do you not think about him in any way? Worry, concern, sadness, hate even. Hate is a word too simple to describe my feelings right now. His tone turns aggressive as his emotions lose control. That damn Deku. After all we've been through. With US and All Might. He has the nerve to pull this stunt. The hell is wrong with that damn nerd? I don't understand. Despite the angst and violent attitude he portrays towards Midoriya, it seems she's not the only one who is deeply affected by it. Uraraka stops short as she thinks about the current situation and what it might mean if she joins this team All Might is trying to create to face off Midoriya's group. Bakugo looks back with a sour frustration in his eyes only for it to be withered away. Uraraka, there, he sees a young brunette covering her face as tears seep through her hands. As he walks closer towards her, he can hear the faint whimpers of her cry echoing louder in his ears. Under the circumstance, his heartbeat rises higher as he approaches her within inches between them. Oi, stop that, you don't need to cry. His attempt to reassure her could not be heard under her cries, all she could hear was her memories and her own voice of pain. What do I do? I've never been in a situation like this before. Damn this cheeked brunette. Uraraka, snap out of it. He places both his hands on her shoulders to shake her to her senses, but she is completely broken right now. I miss them, my friends, I want them to come back home. I want things to go back to the ways things used to be. Seeing as he has no other option, he thought of one way to do it, and it is something he's never done before. Uraraka then feels her body pull forward as her body collides with a hard wall. She opens her eyes as she finds her head lay resting on Bakugo's left shoulder. Bakugo. She feels her body tighten within his arms, but the way he does it gives off a warm feeling she did not know he could give. If that's what you want, I'll do it for you. You're not alone in this. If you don't have the strength nor the will to pull through, I will lend it to you. Together, we can bring Deku and the others home. Hearing his words, hearing something she never thought would come out of Bakugo's mouth was something she never thought was needed. No words could be said to express her gratitude other than returning the favor and bringing up her arms to embrace him back. She placed her hand behind his back and could feel his heartbeat racing fast and loud. She doesn't know why, but upon the touch of his strong back, her heartbeat races faster and soon starts to feel a bit hot in her body. What is this feeling? As the sun comes down, the color of crimson red expands across the horizon. Although, as beautiful the scenery was, it fails in comparison to the color of Uraraka's blushed face. At that moment, she thought to herself how convenient it was that Bakugo could not see how embarrassed she was to be embraced in his arms. Little did she know, the feeling could be said the same for him as his face lights red for the first time. The next follows, and All Might sits patiently in his office room. He thinks about what he was doing and the consequences followed by if he goes through with this idea, but obtaining one for all was all he could think about. Midoriya was meant to be the light for the future of heroism and the symbol of peace, so he never thought about the young man turning to the other side. Was it a mistake? Should he have chosen Mirio Tagata as he was told? Thoughts like those clouds his mind with regret and fear, and he no longer has the power anymore to change it. A sudden buzz snaps him back to reality when a group walks in. Shiro, Kirishima, Bakugo and Uraraka of Class 1A step in with a serious look on their faces. I'm glad you guys came, he says with a genuine tone. Although Bakugo looks unconvinced, he among the rest of them came with the resolve to save their friends and bring them back to their senses. So, where's the others? Just the four of us is not gonna be enough to stop them, ya know. All Might understood exactly what Kirishima pointed out, so that is why he gets up from his seat to walk towards the opposing door, allowing another group to walk in. They came a while ago, but now everyone's here. Class 1A watches as a couple familiar faces walk in. Itsuka Kendo and Nito Monoma from Class 1B and Inasa Yoarashi from Shiketsu High. Along with them, two young girls walk shortly after. One named Kashiku Sekigai with the quirk to make a holographic map of the surroundings of her choosing, and Psycho Intelli from CI Academy. Beside Class B, you know the rest of them from the hero license test, so you should be quite acquainted. How the hell are these guys gonna help us, huh? Bakugo speaks out in an offensive tone. Other than Class B who are used to Bakugo's explosive response, the others did not take kindly to his rude personality. I asked young Yoarashi for help because of his powerful and experienced skill in battle. As for young Intelli and young Sekigai, they will take on the role of strategizing and map out the plans to put into action. All Might describes the young kids in their highest regards, empathizing that they will be an asset in order to stop Midoriya and his group. We need as much help as we can muster. And how are you gonna monitor this group of yours? No offense, All Might, but you are not exactly in the condition to take the lead on this operation you set up. Intelli spoke out logically and thankfully, All Might prepared for this type of setback as he rings in the only pro hero he can trust at the moment. Ms. Mirko, you can come in. Mirko. The last person to walk in was none other than Mirko, the bunny hero makes the scene. What's up ya kids? She greets them. The others stare in confusion while Bakugo glares at the tanned lady. No need for the skeptical eyes ya brats. I came upon All Might's request. I owe him that much after the stuff he's done for me. I appreciate you coming, Ms. Mirko, he smiles. Now that everyone's here, shall we get started? As the other kids take their seat, Intelli brings out a whiteboard to start her presentation. If we're gonna do this, we need to start off with what we know. She unplugs her marker as she begins to write on the board. I will list the missing students according to their quirks and other factors including intelligence, strength, stamina and obviously their quirks. Doing this will determine the dangerous threat they are. First will be Yui Kodai. Quirk. Size. Second is Denki Kaminari. Quirk. Electrification. Third would be Sen Kaibara. Quirk. Gyrate. Fourth is Suyu Asui. Quirk. Frog. Upon hearing her name, Uraraka's guts sink. Fifth is Momo Yaoyorozu. Quirk. Creation. Shoto Todoroki is the sixth man. Quirk. Half hot, half cold. Seventh one is Toru Hagakuri. Quirk. Invisibility. Hearing her say that name brought about an unsettling reaction from Shiketsu High Representative Yoarashi. As they approach the last one, Bakugo already hisses in anger as she writes the last man on the board. And lastly, the eighth traitor, Izuku Midoriya. Quirk. Enhanced super strength. Hearing the words traitor along with his name was already bad enough to make Uraraka break down in tears, but she needs to stay strong for a little while longer. Now that we've got the names and their respective quirks down, I've listed these names from least to most dangerous. 0. From least to most dangerous. How is Hagakuri so high up there? Intelli. They use their quirk with no restrictions now that they no longer seek the path of heroes. Who's to say she is not here right now listening over us? What is stopping her from killing us in our sleep? Does it not occur to you that her invisible quirk is so dangerous that we cannot allow ourselves to lower our guards for even a second? No matter how powerful you feel you are with your quirks, unless you have some incredible defense quirk like Kirishima, you can die like every other human. The way she spoke struck fear in the group and gave them the sudden realization that what they are up against is something they never experienced before. To fight a former friend. Now then, she directs her attention to a different topic. Now that we got that out of the way, let's devise a plan together to snuff them out and deal with them accordingly. Meanwhile, as the sun darkens into the night, a band of unique people band together to come up with a plan of their own. Kodai. So, what do we do now? Kaibara. Why don't you ask our fearless leader A? Kaminari. It's been weeks since our first mission. Dabi. Twice. Field trip. Fuck, never mind, I know, like go, too tired. I'ma go pack my bag. Todoroki. I know, I'm also ready to go. Yaoyorozu. Do we have another mission to go on? Kurogiri. If it's Master Midoriya wishes, I will lend a hand. Hagakuri. I hope we can slice up more people. Toga. Ya like cutting people too. Asui. What's the plan, Izuku? Everyone, including the League of Villains, looks towards the young man in green hair for their next action. Alone, he stares down a paper picture of a man Hagakuri got from her reconnaissance in the underground villain's place. He stares with a devilish smile on his face as he crumples it to a ball. We have our next target. Let's move out. End of part 1. Thanks for watching.